Is your demanding work lifestyle in need of fire-resistant clothing that can keep up? Well, L4FR clothing should be your go-to for quality, affordability, safety, and style. L4FR was founded by a third-generation oil field worker who is also a veteran. Thus, this company has a deep appreciation for reliability and longevity, all while we provide first-rate customer service. Our durable apparel will serve you well for many years to come, whether you're working on a pipeline, a lineman climbing utility poles, or in any other environment requiring fire-resistant apparel. L4FR has you covered. Our apparel is tough enough to resist hazardous conditions while still providing high comfort and style. L4FR provides clothing options to ensure your safety and comfort, whether you're on the job or not. To view our complete inventory of flame-resistant garments, please visit our online store at l4frclothing.com or give us a call at 817-757-4935. Si habla español.
Struggling with mobility, chronic pain, work, or sports injury? At Azalea Orthopedics, our team of highly trained physicians specialize in complete orthopedic care, pain management, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation. If you've sustained a bone or joint injury, have mobility or movement problems, struggle with pain, contact Azalea Orthopedics. We're conveniently located across East Texas, serving 18 counties. When visiting your doctor, urgent care, or hospital, you have a choice. Demand Azalea. At Azalea Orthopedics, your health is our priority.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekly wrap-up show. It's a 3A, 2A TAPPS edition. We're going to preview Little Guys tonight. Brett Swinney here alongside KO Kyle Owens and CM Corey Marshall. What's going on, fellas? Oh, and Prince Vince has joined us. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
What's up? What's up? I'm feeling good about tonight. Now we got some schools I'm familiar with. I'm ready to go tonight. Let's go.
Y'all hear me?
We're going to call this the KO zone here. Is this?
I can't hear nothing.
I'm excited for it.
The familiarity zone, the familiar zone.
Why
Okay.
can't I hear anything?
I'm going to start out tonight with a couple of props here. I've got a shout out to my man KO here. If you're looking for some good highlight clips from Lindale Sulphur Springs scrimmage, go and follow KO at the Kyle Owens. He's got those out there. Kyle's checking those out while I go, man. It's some good stuff you got going on.
It was my first time shooting too. My first time.
Hey, I'm impressed.
It was fun. It was interesting.
Oh.
It was different though, but yeah, it was a good time.
Tell us a little bit about the scrimmage too. Like how did it go? How did the teams look on just the first out of the box here?
It's tough, man. That first scrimmage is tough because you're still working out a lot of kinks. There were some good plays though, as you see in the highlights. There was a couple of good catches, some good hard running. I'm worried about Lindale's secondary a little bit. I know it was the first scrimmage, but Sulphur Springs was able to move the ball through the air pretty easily. But the the Eagles and the Wildcats, I think the final score, they kept score. It was like 28-21. Sulphur Springs won. So it was a very good, hard-hitting scrimmage, but it's hard to judge from the very first scrimmage.
Well, you got to start somewhere. What was the heat index down there in that field?
It was hot. It was hot. It was very hot. It was 7 o'clock and it was still over 100 degrees. It was hot.
I'm sure you'll be glad for the temperature to cool down a little bit now, having to move down to that sideline this year.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate part now about my new position. I'm not in the nice, cozy press box with the AC or the heat. Now I got to be down on the field in the conditions.
Get on the action. With the action.
And what if it starts raining? Now I got to be out in the rain.
Oh, yeah. No,
It's rough.
I'm sure that rain, sleet, shine. It'll be good stuff for me this year, Kyle. Also, I want to give some props out to my other two comrades here. We got Vince and CM. Made a trip out to Brook Hill this week and got to see our special guest for tonight's show, Coach Jeremy Hubbard and the Brook Hill Guard.
Coach Hubbard, what's up, Coach Hubbard?
What's happening?
Tell us about y'all's trip to Brook Hill, and then Jeremy can kind of tell us about all of what the kids thought about it.
Oh, they rolled out the red carpet for us. So Coach Hubbard, he took us in and gave us some gear, Always, excited to get. Oh, okay, we can't tell them all of that.
I'm about to say, hold on now.
Hey, don't I haven't got it either. What's going on here?
Listen, man. Listen, when you go to recruiting trips, you don't tell them what you bring back.
Yeah. Gave us a tour of the facility and just told us, hey, man, take all the pictures and, footage you want. So he let us do our thing. And we got a chance to meet a couple of the guys, some other coaches and stuff like that. It's just a really, I would say, honestly, a stress-free atmosphere. Like, growing up playing football, it was always like, it was, I don't know, I always felt like it was a lot of aggression out there on the field growing up. And when I watched these guys, it was a lot of smiles and stuff, but everybody was doing what they were supposed to do, at the same time. You had all the kids, they were out there working and stuff. So that makes it easier, I'm sure, when the kids are actually out there grinding and stuff and not messing around. But they, it just seemed like real calm, especially before scrimmage. Usually from my experiences, it's always been like that's that part where you just rushing to get everything together there at the end, and they just seemed well prepared, well chilled, and just was like, yeah, y'all take all the photos y'all want, man. Let us do a couple of interviews. It was dope. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I want to come back.
Yes. Yeah, we will be back. We will be back. Got some tricks up our sleeve, hopefully. But no, I felt real at home, and it was very welcoming. We got a lot of good stuff. Got to see the facilities out there, and it felt like I said, when I don't know if you ever been on a recruiting trip. And they show you the facilities and stuff. You walk around campus and everything. Been on campus several times. We did basketball last year, and it's right there by the gym. So I'm like, I kind of want to go inside and look in the indoor facility. You see the indoor facility is nice, then you walk in, see the locker room, see the weight room, see the training room, and training room is almost as D1 style. So, hey man, I like it. I'm can't wait to go back and start doing some stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys saying that about a lot of it. And I'll tell you, the atmosphere is one that our head football coach, and of course, we may talk about this, Brett, tonight, but you're going to get a chance to hear from our coach on a weekly basis starting next week. And he really, we attack the kids' preparation in the sense of football is really just a game, right? Like, we have to get stuff done, and we want to get better, and we want to work. But when you have a head coach who spent 2 tours in Iraq and has been in those situations where it's literally life or death, it's a lot easier to kind of bring it back and focus on football. And so you're right. You see our kids are really calm now. Don't get it twisted. When we kick things off for real next Friday, it's going to be a madhouse and a little more tense, right? But we were pretty laid back. We were just excited to go hit somebody other than each other. And we have 40 to 50 kids in the program, but we were missing a lot of guys Friday, and we talked about this when you guys were there. We were going to be down some guys in that scrimmage with Russ, and for them to be a 4A school, and they're big, man. Like, I forget how big they are sometimes. I grew up there. I can assure you we weren't that big when I was playing. But it was good for us, and we appreciate you guys being out there, and we know that you're welcome there anytime. And you're right, Brett. When Brett and I talked, I think it was yesterday. And I let him know that I got you guys a little bit of swag. He was kind of mad at all three of us. So you weren't supposed to tell him that. KO, sorry. I'll hook you up too. I'll hook both of you up. But they got some. I mean, Corey and Vince got some fresh off the line hats. I have one I'm saving for game day. I'm not even going to pull it out yet, but it's pretty nice. And, but it's I appreciate you guys saying that for
Coach Up, I'm not gonna lie to you. So when you gave me that swag, the next day I went up to I went to the mall. I saw these shoes that match. My wife was like, she was like, white and orange? She was like, is that you? I said, it's about to be. I was like, and I'll tell you this, I'm only wearing these on game day.
That's right. Hey, listen, today's the first day of school for us, and I tell my kids, I say, guys, if you go in my closet, there's 3 colors. It's gray, it's blue, it's orange. I don't have anything else. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the coach's life.
Well,
That's the coach's life.
You need some red and blue, red, white, and blue, Jeremy.
Listen, I want the CM edition blue hat, and that's the trade-off we'll make. I can go with that. I'm more of a flat bill guy now.
Yeah, I will say this: the hat, I'm probably going to have to get like a medium. If you got a medium, I'll trade you for it.
Okay, I'll get you. I just thought he had all that brain. I figured big head.
No, it's totally opposite. Big body, small head. So I'm totally disproportionate.
It's all compact. It's all compact in there, Jeremy.
That's fair. That's fair. I got you.
Right. I bet.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely, of course, we'll be there for weeks during football season there in Brook Hill covering games. I think Vince will be at all 4 of those.
Yeah.
He's gonna be walking basically to the stadium almost there. It's not that far.
Better get early for that tailgate. Get your little food on the way in at that tailgate.
We talked about that. We sat outside for a little bit. We talked about that. I was like, I see how this is a really
Kyle's making
where you want to be right before the game. Is right here in this area.
Hey, Kyle, if you do any Brook Hill games, get there early for the tailgate.
Don't just come for the tailgate. Come to the game. Don't just go to the tailgate.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about if he goes and films any, he needs to make sure he's there early before he can get the tailgate.
Yeah. Right. Have no doubts. I'll reach out to Jeremy and say, hey, Jeremy, where do I go? Just let me know.
Listen, you just got to smell. You get your nose out, you know where to go. I promise.
They had that barbecue pit sitting out there. We saw it.
Yeah. Just park on the lawn. You got a truck, park on the lawn, and get the lawn chair out, and hey.
Like an old hound dog, just smell for it. You'll find it, I promise.
All right, well, let's talk some polls. I had Jeremy make up his poll, and we'll get to see how his stacks up against ours here tonight. Honestly, tonight this poll was the toughest one for me because there's so many teams. I mean, like Kyle said earlier, the teams around here, the small schools kind of reign, and there's a lot of good schools. So let's see where our tabulated together poll falls, and then we'll go down and look at our picks. So we had a tie for ninth between Newton and Joaquin. At 8, West Rusk. 7 was Winsboro. 6, Dangerfield. 5 is Carlisle. 4 is Harmony. 3, Malakoff. 2, Beckville. And 1, Timpson.
Disrespect.
Okay, so Kyle's got. I was going to say opening thoughts on the poll results. Kyle obviously has something to say. Go ahead, Kyle.
Harmony at 4. Harmony made it to the state semifinals last year, and they brought dang near the whole team back. And they're running it back, pretty much same crew, and we're putting them at 4th. They got 10 starters returning on offense and 9 on defense, and they're at 4.
I'm gonna tell you something. Totally my mistake. I didn't have them in my poll. And that is my mistake.
That
is my mistake. That is totally my mistake.
Whoa.
And I look back at my poll. I'm like, where is Harmony? I promise you, This is probably during the beta testing, so I'm gonna blame it on the beta testing. I'm gonna blame it on the beta testing.
Corey, y'all didn't even vote on this poll till recently.
Hey, I'm blaming it on the beta testing.
I'm sorry,
It's a
Kyle.
glitch.
I'm sorry.
It's a glitch.
Sorry.
It's a glitch.
That's okay.
But
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
This was it was tough. It was a tough poll. You know.
Okay, Corey. So where would you have put Harmony if you meant to put them on there? Who would you have moved?
You know, it would have been my
going
14.
Here, I'm going to answer your question.
Not going over Timpson.
I'm going to answer your question.
No. They would have been my 14.
So, Kyle, let me ask you a question, Kyle.
So it wouldn't have mattered.
So, is Centerville East Texas?
Centerville? I don't think we cover. I think no. I mean.
So there's your answer. Corey has Centerville in his poll.
Well, okay,
He forgot Harmony.
I think Centerville is East Texas, but I don't. That just because we don't cover them doesn't mean they're not. I think they are East Texas. Yes.
Okay.
That's very borderline.
It's on the edge. It's on the edge for sure.
So I'm gonna give you some geography. So I've been studying. I failed geography in fourth grade, and I came back and passed it, made straight hundreds because I got in trouble by my mom. I'm gonna tell you this. So Corrigan is in East Texas, right? And we cover Corrigan. Absolutely. Did you not know that Centerville was 139 miles away? Corrigan is 156 miles away from Tyler. Shorter distance, and it's still in East Texas. Explain that.
It's just the difference of the geography.
That geography, exactly. So, which one is in East Texas? Which one is more in East Texas? Corrigan or Centerville?
Are you saying it's in the middle of? Are you saying that's the mileage from where we are currently? Because who said we're the dead middle? Are we the dead middle of East Texas? Are we just?
Are we not in Tyler? This is the heart of East Texas, right? Tyler's the heart of East Texas, right?
I would say they're both East Texas, but I would consider Corrigan more East Texas because Centerville's more towards the kind of central Texas area. So, but Corrigan is East Texas. So that's the only difference I would say there.
They have East Texas schools.
In Kyle's defense, it's only like 105 miles to Mesquite, and we don't include them.
That's true.
Thailand, right? So I consider. I'll be honest with you.
Corey said Kaufman wasn't East Texas last year all year, and then
I'm on your side, Corey.
I was thinking of Huffman, like truly on. I was thinking of Huffman for some reason. That's why I was like,
I may have turned a year older, but I still remember these things, Vince. It's okay.
I couldn't remember what Kaufman was. I was thinking of Huffman. But anyway.
I know that birthday's coming up, Vince, very soon for you, and you're going to join me in that next club up. But so you still remember some things, even when you get older.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Yeah, we got to throw Vince and Edison birthday party, man. We got to.
Oh God!
You only get sharper. you only get sharper.
So let's go. Let's start from the bottom and go up, and Jeremy can contribute on what his team is, or where he's got his. So we'll start with 10. So Kyle and Corey actually agreed here. They had Lovelady number 10. Vince has West Rusk, and I had Troop number 10. Guys, give me your thoughts on those teams. Jeremy, what do you have 10?
I actually had Joaquin at 10, so I'm kind of right in there with you guys. I think Joaquin is, and let me say this before we go any further, because we're all pretty much the same teams, right? But I want to go back to what you said. This is the best class in East Texas overall. And I think the top 5 or 6, and I even have 7, I think you can make any of them the same. Well, not this. There's top 2, and then there's a bunch in the middle, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really good class. And you guys did us TAPPS schools dirty, by the way. Because we got no shot of being in the top 10 in this thing for a while, right? So, but no, I had Joaquin at 10. I think this is a team that has that tradition. They have the history. And no matter what the situation, they have the right style of offense. And I look at polls in the preseason as who can go in the postseason and win. And it's nice to be able to throw it around and have all this spread stuff. And I'm a defensive guy. I'm not going to lie to you. But at some point in the playoffs, you have to be able to run the football and stop the run. And Joaquin can run the football. At some point, you're going to be in a playoff game where you're not going to be able to throw it around 40 times. I don't care who you are. It doesn't happen. And Joaquin's built to be successful. And I think they're going to have a good year.
All right.
It gets cold. Got to run the football.
All right. So Corey and Kyle, give me your Lovelady. What you got?
Well, I put Lovelady up there because they made the regional final last year, 12 in 1 year. They were undefeated until that loss in the playoffs, and they're returning 8 starters on offense. and 5 on defense. I mean, they may need a little work on the defensive side, but offensively, they got most of their stars coming back. So I expect them to have another good year and make a run.
So I'm not gonna go about stats. I'm just gonna go. If you ever been to Lovelady, I go through Lovelady all the time to go back home to Huntsville, right? And it is like you blink and you miss the town. I'm happy for a team or for a town that small. You got to be happy for a town that small. There's not even a Dairy Queen in Lovelady.
Oof.
All right, that's how small the town is. So much respect for the Lovelady Lions. The football stadium, you kick a field goal, and you kick a field goal toward the highway. You might hit a car. That's how close the football stadium is to the highway. So shout out to Lovelady, man. Keep going.
Yeah, I like Lovelady. I think, again, at the bottom of this poll, you could have put a numerous teams. I have Troop, and I think that's a little low for Troop, but I want to see what they do this year. I think they could really rise up my poll if they start winning some games. They've got a lot coming back. Of course, you got Trey Davis, the speedster. You got the Hernan kid at quarterback. I think it's his third year to start. So Troop's my team that I see them competing with West Rusk for the district championship this year. I think it's them and West Rusk in that district, and I see them really pushing West Rusk this year. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they won the district with what they have coming back. I got to talk to Coach Wells at coaching school, and he said this is the year. They've got a lot of seniors in this group, a lot of guys that have started a lot of games for them, and so I'm putting Troop in there right now. But honestly, if they start winning, I could see them moving up this poll pretty quickly.
And you're talking about a small school that has some Division I talent on it, right? I mean, Heron at quarterback is a good talent. They got the tight end that just committed. I think Sam Houston's where he's going. I mean, they've got some players, and they're an interesting team. I'm interested to see how it looks in the first couple of weeks. I mean, it's we'll ask them. But I'm just saying, I think it's they're a team that's interesting to me, Brett. I think you're right. I think they have the talent, and they could be higher, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just like them as kind of it's a low spot for them, but I want to see what they do. I think
That's a solid district too. I mean, that's
It is.
it's going to be a battle for those 4 spots. I mean, I think there's 5 really good teams that are battling for 4 spots. Somebody's going to get left out.
And you got ARP with Coach Schminke. I see them making a step and giving some of those guys a challenge this year. They were really young last year. We covered them during basketball season. And Corey, I believe they had one senior on the basketball court. I think it's kind of the same way on the football field. They brought back a lot of talent. There we go. Vince back. Here we go. All right.
Is it still doing a thing?
No, I think, well, it seems to be okay right now. Having some sound difficulties. I don't know if you guys are hearing that.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead, Vince. You had
I had West Rusk
there. And you missed, I talked about Troop. I think them and Troop are going to be fighting back and forth there in that district. So give us your take on what West Rusk brings to the table for you.
I like them. They had a good season last year, and I think they went like 10-3, I think it was, or something like that. But I put them in the bottom because they didn't have a lot of returners. I think they were returning only about 4 or 5 guys offensively and defensively. So I kind of weighed heavily on that. That kind of made me feel like their season, even though they're well coached and stuff like that, they're going to struggle with leadership. So I didn't know how well they would perform this year. Honestly, I just didn't know how well they were going to perform this year. But ironically, Dave Campbell ranked them to be number 1 in their in their division. So I mean, Dave Campbell thinks that they're gonna top Troop. So I was like, well, I don't know. It's all a prediction. So I was like, you know what? That returning starter makes me wonder, like what that looks like.
Yeah, and they got a new coach, Coach Mata, which brings me to Jeremy. You stole their head coach. He's over there with you guys now, Coach Harrison. So I mean, they're going to have to replace him. Man, what is he doing over there with you guys?
And it's nice to have a guy like that with his experience as our secondary coach, and then he's coaching golf. But it's been so nice to have a guy like that for us. And still is probably the wrong word, Brett. I mean, he chose to come over. We didn't go there.
Well, I
And
know,
kidnap
I know, but it's like I'm sure, like, and the Coach Mata, of course, his son graduated last year. Really good. He's running track at Houston. So that's, I mean, that's a lot of speed. I went to actually watch West Rusk and ARP last year, in ARP. Got down the sideline, got some footage and did some stuff from there. And just to see his way he took the game over, like ARP played them tough for a while, but a couple of plays he just got free and just took off. Like he was a game changer. So that's a big replacement that they're gonna have to replace. Of course, that senior group that they had was pretty solid. So it's gonna be tough. That's why I think they're going to come down and Troop's gonna bring enough back. I think that district right there, that's going to be a tough fight. And so I could see them, either one of them winning. And both of those teams, this is a deep poll, and I like them both at the bottom. I think that's a good spot for them too, Vince. And I actually, spoiler, I have West Rusk. Me and Kyle have West Rusk next at 9, and I have them really close because I think they're you could go either way with them right now as far as just what I see in the preseason. Vince, you have Hooks, and Corey has Centerville. I basically, Kyle, I mean, you kind of agree with Vince of, we're not real sure. They got some holes to fill, but they're still West Rusk. I mean, I think they'll still be pretty competitive. What do you think?
I mean, Mata was the offensive coordinator last year. So, I mean, he's very familiar with the team, very familiar with the offense. So, well, there it goes. I guess we figured it out. Anyway.
Sorry, CM, you're out now.
Yeah, sorry. Guess we figured it out. Anyway, yeah, Coach Mata was there, though, last year. So, I mean, he's very familiar with it. And you're right, Brett. Andon Mata was fantastic. He was outstanding. I got to watch him twice last year, thankfully. Once against Grand Saline, a really good game, and then once against Harmony as well in the playoffs, another really good game. So excellent team. They do have a lot of holes to fill, and especially replacing Mata at quarterback is going to be tough. But I think having a coach that's been there and knows the program helps the transition a little bit and is familiar with the team. So I don't think we'll see a big drop from West Rusk, but because of the uncertainty there, that's why I got them ranked 9th in the poll.
I want to say this about that because I haven't talked to Coach Harrison about this, obviously, so I don't want to speak for him. But I do feel like one of the reasons that he felt okay with stepping away at the time was that he felt like with Coach Mata, it was in good hands. And I think that obviously Coach Harrison was there for long enough that he cares about those kids in the program and what he built. I didn't have him in my top 10. I don't have him in my top 10. And I would put them above a Troop because I think they both have a lot of question marks. But I think kind of what DeKO just said, the Troop question marks are they haven't done it yet. Can they get there? And West Rusk is, can they keep the switch flipped to stay there? And I think it's easier to build on that than try to overcome it. Now, I think it's a close race. And that's why I didn't really have either of them in the top 10. But I think West Rusk I think they have an easier path to answer those questions. It's just a loaded division, right? A loaded grouping of schools, and those question marks kind of keep them out for me. But I think they're both going to be fine. I think it'll be a great game when they play each
other. All right, tell us about Hooks, Vince.
Hooks. I was sitting there reading some of my notes here. It's been a while since I put this together. Hooks. They're returning 6 offensive starters and 9 defensive starters. They had another good season last year. Man, you know what? This 3A, 2A poll we did was kind of tough because all of these guys are really good. All of them. And it just I had to think about, well, if they were, I almost had to think about it from a standpoint like who do you think would win if they had to play each other at some point, I know some of them won't ever play each other, but the thing I did like about Hooks was that they had a couple of returning starters that always makes it easier for you. When you got a returning quarterback, when you got a returning tailback, I believe there was a offensive lineman and a receiver that was all returning. And I was like, wow. I was like, I like it. That sounds good to me. That makes it easier. That makes your job easier when your starters are coming back. Your starters that are the leaders on the team and stuff like that. So it does make it a little easier, especially, obviously at the quarterback level. So that's why I put obviously that's why I put them ahead of West Russ to begin with. But even then, thinking about the rest of my picks, everybody is good and getting better. So it was just really hard to place a lot of these guys. But that's where I thought Hooks would land. So
All right, Corey, tell us about Centerville.
They were good last year. Should be good this year.
it's real simple.
And they're always good. They're always there, right?
Yeah.
You always see those guys playing Thanksgiving week.
Jeremy, did you tell us who your 9-part pick was yet?
No, and y'all are. I'm looking at y'all's combined poll and mine, and it's a team you guys had, but a lot higher. I have Carlisle at 9, and here's the reason why. Carlisle's a team that's going to make a deep playoff run in their class. They're a top 10
Yeah.
team in 2A Division II, right? But when you try to combine them and say, okay, and I don't want to get into my poll completely yet, but when I look at the teams I placed ahead of them up to that 5th spot where you guys have them, it's like, okay, at some point you have to say, just like Vince said, if they played, who would win? And Carlisle just doesn't have the numbers. They don't have the depth to play. But, man, I'll tell you what, I love watching Carlisle play. It's a team that at Brookhill especially, I could see us playing in the future because of the depth and the numbers thing being close to the same. And I'm telling you, man, they're going to bring the hat, man. I love watching them play.
It'll be interesting to see if they're able to replace Coach Baker as he goes to Henderson. So,
but with Coach Sharp coming over, man, I mean, it's a guy who's got it in his blood. He knows what's going on. And it's one of those schools that even though I don't know, do people consider Carlisle a football school? I don't know if they do or not, but they always are competitive, and they always have kids who love playing. And they're all – I mean, you're going to see them deep in the playoffs this year. I really believe that. I can't put them at 5. I know you guys have them over schools like Dangerfield and Winsboro and West Rusk and Newton and Joaquin. And I just – are they going to make a deeper run than some of those schools? Absolutely. I just don't know if I can say today they're better, KO. I mean, I think that they're good. They're just – man, it's too close to call.
Yeah, too close of a call. That's what it feels like for all of these teams.
It was. I think we honestly could have done a 3A top 10 separately.
Absolutely.
And still, and then done like a 2A TAPPS separately. Just because there's so many like solid 3A teams or teams that are so close, evenly matched that it's a toss up.
It would just be the 2A where you would kind of get.
Yeah, that's why I was saying 2A and TAPPS could combine. Then we could get some of Jeremy's TAPPS teams in.
Look at that. He's gonna be petitioning for that next year.
Next week. I'll wait till next year. No, I'm just
kidding. That's why we do this.
My poll didn't even have Dangerfield. That's how.
Goodness gracious, Corey.
What? Did it scratch? Hey, you might well kill him now.
Yeah, his might as well just not count.
It's over.
Okay, Corey's kicked off the show. He
fixed the microphone, and now you're kicking him off again. It's
Corey,
okay.
You may not want to tell all that. You're lucky. You're lucky that our friend's not here tonight, Corey. If our friend Mr. Eddie was here, he'd be grilling you with all his stats. He must not be here because he would have already said something to us.
He's just waiting.
Yeah.
Eddie won't be for me.
He'll be tweeting you later. Ask Vince. All right, let's go on to 8. So we got. I have an agreement. I'm with Vince. I've got Winsboro at 8. Kyle, you have Malakoff at 8. And Corey, you have West Rusk at 8. Jeremy, we'll start with you. What do you got at 8? How's that right? How's that stack up? What you got?
Man, I actually have a team we just talked about. I have Dangerfield at 8. And listen, I think they have more talent than to be number 8. But you look at last year and the loss to Harmony, and we're going to talk about Harmony later. I know they had the one kid leave, and went to Carthage.
I think he came back.
Did he come back?
Yeah, he didn't enroll at Carthage.
I don't think he was going to be eligible.
Well, obviously. I mean, although it is Carthage, right? And they have a way to figure that stuff out. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just
I
I know. Okay, look, I know people in Beckville. They'll argue. They'll have my back on this one. Um, you know, I just it goes back to I have a team ahead of them that nobody has in their poll, I guess, and I don't know why. I'm gonna jump on that soapbox here in a minute. But I think they're a good team. I think they have a chance to go deep again. I just don't know. I mean, I think they were better last year and they didn't get there. I don't know what's going on. I know people on the coaching staff. I'm very close with them. It's just kind of a weird. I don't know, man. It just didn't make sense to me
So
last year.
so here's what I and I listen to a lot of different shows, Jeremy. And what I hear about Dangerfield is they've got the talent, and that Grant and Terry talked about this the other day. I listened to their show on 3A. They've got the talent to beat anybody on their schedule. And it's like when it comes down to it, when they get on the field, can they put it all together and not turn the ball over, make mental mistakes, that kind of thing? And you just never know which team's going to show up. It's not the talent problem with
I
them.
think that's fair. I mean, really, and sometimes the worst thing for you is to have a couple of superstars on the team. Like, yeah, it's good to have the talent, but sometimes, I mean, you guys know you've seen it happen. As a coach, I can just tell you, you're better off having a bunch of guys who are willing to do their part than have one or two guys who want it all to be about them. And that can kill a team, right? Like, who knows what the dynamics are of the locker room and why that went the way it did last year. But I think you're right. They had the talent to beat anybody we're going to talk about tonight. That's the truth. And we're going to find out. They play a pretty good schedule. We'll find out how good they are.
Yeah, they're not afraid to play anybody. That's what I like about Dangerfield. They'll play anybody.
Yeah.
And they'll compete with anybody.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Okay. So you got Dangerfield. I have Winsboro. V and Vince have Winsboro.
Yeah.
I like the Finney connection. The dad. And I've talked about this numerous times. When you have a son that's a quarterback and the dad that's a coach, that's usually a really good combination because they've probably grown up on the sidelines. They've been, watching film since he was probably a kid, and he's coming off I want to say a 3,000-yard season last year, and that's one of the boroughs. We talked about the boroughs a little bit. That's a tough region with the boroughs. You got to go through the boroughs. You got Pottsboro, Wattsboro, and Winsboro. And I just think that they're going to be one of those teams that he's come back as a senior and he's going to fling it all around the yard, and they've got a chance to do something. When you got a guy that can do that, I know Jeremy mentioned about being able to run the ball, and you do eventually, but when you got somebody like that that can fling the ball around, you're never out of a game. So I like them. Vince, what do you got with Winsboro there?
Winsboro is just great, man. They finished 10-2 last year. Like you said about the quarterback situation, dad and QB, I like it. But ultimately, they just seem like they're on top of their division, and they're really close. I just feel like they're really close to actually winning it all. You got the Barrows. You talked about that already. The Barrows, and I think their first loss was to Pottsboro, I think it was, and then Pottsboro's first loss was to Whitesboro. It's just crazy how they beat up on each other there. But I think they're really close. I think they're on the verge of getting the championship. So, especially while you still got your son at quarterback. So I mean, like you said, he takes his work home with him. So, I think they're just a great team.
All right, Corey, you got West Rusk. Tell us about West Rusk for you at 8. I know we kind of talked to him a little bit earlier. What do you see? You got the new coach Mata coming in. How do you see them lining up in their district?
I think they'll be fine. No big surprise in West West. I think they'll do okay.
All right.
I mean, they've been competitive every year. They're probably a bigger football team than most people in their division, and they got a lot of speed. So I think they'll be fine. That's a tough district either way.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be
true West. I can never say that school. West Rusk matchup is always good, and that's a game we probably I wish we could cover that. But that's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, it's going to be that game's going to be a good one. Kyle, you got Malakoff. That's awful low. Tell me why you got Malakoff this low, because we know they're good. So why do you have them lower than some of us? I'm just no. It's a fair
Hear me
question.
out. Hear me out.
I didn't say Kyle, you're stupid. They had
Hear me
a
out.
Malakoff.
No.
I'll just
No.
ask why
I got you.
Malakoff is a little lower than other people. Yeah.
And I told you this poll, I have solid reasoning behind every pick that I made.
And I know that's why I'm asking you. Just
so Malakoff.
Fill us with your wisdom.
I thank you for coming closer, Corey. Listen, so Malakoff, 13-2 last year, state semifinalist, outstanding season for Malakoff. They only have 3 starters returning on offense from that team. Their district is very weak with Teague, Fairfield, Mejia, Grossbeck, Kemp, and Eustis. They're going to blow through district, which doesn't help them come playoff time. And they're in a tough region. They're in a tough region, so it's going to be tough to come out of that region, that 3A Division I, that region 2 that we were just talking about. They're in that same region with Winsboro, Pottsboro, Whitesboro, all the boroughs. Malakoff's in there as well. I think the amount of people they lost, and they're only bringing 6 back on defense too. So I think they have to replace a lot of players, and a lot of key players, not just another guys. A lot of key players they got to replace. I think last year may have been their year to try and make a run, which they did. They made it to the state semifinals. I just think there's going to be a fall off this year, and I don't think they're going to be as strong. That's the only thing. Still a really good football team. They'll probably go, I'd say 2 or 3 rounds deep in the playoffs probably, which is a most high schools would love that. So, it's just going to be a down year for Malakoff. That's what I think.
Okay, fair point.
2 or 3 rounds in a down year. I'd have that every year.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like that's why I think they're going to be a little lower in the poll.
That's fine.
All right.
You didn't even have Harmony in the poll. They made it to the state semis last year.
It was a glitch. It was a glitch. It had to have been a glitch. Dangerfield either. I don't have Dangerfield on me.
A glitch.
Definitely a glitch.
I sure hope you're not trying to blame the app for a glitch, because that's not.
I am definitely blaming the app over the glitch.
That's not good promotion, Corey.
It was during beta. It was during beta.
Oh, okay,
it was
okay,
during
okay.
beta. It was during beta.
Well,
Just saying, it was during beta.
Well, if you could have went back and reviewed your poll before you submitted it, but that's okay. Maybe next after week 1 he'll be able to get that poll adjusted to include some of those teams.
I have a feeling Harmony will go from unranked to ranked in Corey's poll week 1.
Yeah.
They better.
Well, maybe they're at hooks, man. I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We had Hooks Nation here. We had Hooks Nation here.
They were real quiet after Harmony won, though, in the playoffs.
Man. Yeah, they were all over the chat.
They hadn't been back.
No.
All
Ran them off.
All right, so we got your pick in there, Jeremy, at 8, didn't we?
Yeah, Dangerfield. Yeah.
All right, so who you got at 7?
Okay. I want everybody to listen up real close.
Here we go.
That's the good one.
They're number 7 in my poll, and I told myself I'm going to get in trouble with Scott Rowell tomorrow if I give anybody any bulletin board material. And only making them number 7 might be bulletin board material. I want to take you back to about 2001, Corey. You were watching football in 2001. And who is the fastest team in all of Texas in 2001? Who was it? Not only in football, but in track, in basketball.
Had to be Atlanta.
They're playing. Atlanta. And let me
The
tell you
Atlanta
something,
Falcons?
buddy.
The Atlanta Falcons?
No, the Atlanta Falcons, they're terrible, especially with that
Jack
Trump Dion. The Atlanta Rabbits. And I am telling you, I have a number 7. It is probably too low. It's probably too low.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Sorry. So Coach Morton took over last year, coming over from Arkansas High. Okay.
Mm.
I listen. We play Atlanta this year, and we played them last year. We went up there, and it was a slobber knocker game.
Jeremy, can you watch that game somewhere?
From last year, you actually
No,
can.
no.
You can watch it this year.
Yeah, this year.
Oh,
on NetSN.
Oh, okay. All right, just checking.
So if you go back
I did
and
watch that game last year, by the way.
I'm gonna tell you, brother, they are the real deal. And not only are they fast now, like they used to be, you saw it then, Corey. They are huge. They got the right combination of the big hosses up front. You can't catch the running backs. Not just one of them. There's 7 of them you can't catch. Okay, they got a good young quarterback that can run it around. They got a defensive-minded coach. I'm just telling you, coaching against them, they ran so many different things that we had to work hard. And I'm telling you, we played about as good as we could play, and we lost to them by 6 points. And it was if you watched it, we did some things well, right? But I think they're going to be a year better.
I was just about to say, I was like, you know what? I was like, is this kid? It's like, okay, it was a tussle. I'm like, okay, I know Atlanta's fast. This may be a little out of Brook Hill's depth a little bit. I'm like, I like them playing that team, that speed, but I'm like, this is a good game. I watched the whole game. It was a good game.
I'm telling you, and I just think, we mentioned the Burrows. For Atlanta to get where I think they can get, they're going to have to beat Pottsboro. Okay, they're going to have to beat Pottsboro to get to the semifinals. And I'm just going to go on records now saying I think they're going to do it. Now, I have them 7, and I know that's kind of hypocritical for me to say that. But when we're sitting down at the end of the year and looking at teams left, Atlanta's going to be one of the last few left. I have a ton of respect for Coach Morton and getting to know him over the last couple of years. And I'm glad I'm not going to have to play him next year because this year's going to be tough enough. Okay, but that's a program back on the rise, and I think that's one of the next schools that are going to be in that championship conversation soon is Atlanta. And so I've got them at 7, but they're getting there.
I was high on them last year.
In 2001, who was the kid that came out of Atlanta? I cannot think. My mind's blank now.
Atlanta? You're going to make me look this up. But
they were super quick in 01. They went to the championship game, and they won it maybe in 01. But, and they've put together a good coaching staff too. There's a lot of I say a lot, there's a couple of former head coaches on that staff too that they've put together that's really talented. So I'm just telling you, watch them early on. They play at Legion Fields the first game. And last year, as we scouted them, the schedule looked kind of weak. And they went 0-10 2 years ago. They were 0-10 in 2021.
Yeah, they're in there with Tatum in that district. And I think that's probably your district championship game between them and Tatum.
That's what hurt me with Atlanta. If y'all remember I kept Atlanta on my poll, like I think it was after the Liberty Allo game.
Yeah.
And I held on to him. And I remember, we were talking about them and Tatum. And I was like, well, Tatum lost these first 4 or whatever and yada, yada, yada. And I just kept saying, man, Atlanta is good. Atlanta is real good.
We talked about Tatum's schedule.
Tatum,
that?
Yeah, right. and Tatum ate them up. And I was so devastated because I did not see it happening like that. Because Tatum that's when I lost a little. But it could have just been one of those games where, sometimes you just have a game where you fall flat, and they were probably due for one. Everybody gets one every now and then. But that really hurt me when Tatum did them like that. And I think it was because I didn't believe in Tatum as much at that time.
But here's the thing you got to remember, Vince, and this is true of anybody.
Yeah.
But when you're 0-10 the year before, you got a lot of psychological training to get those kids out of that mindset. That was the first big game they had since being 0-10. And I bet,
fair enough. I
think that's a huge part of that, right? It's like we're talking about Troop and West Rusk. I've been there and I'm going to stay there, or I got to beat that guy to get there. What's harder to do? And man, for them, I'm telling you, I'm just going to be honest with you. I
didn't think about it like that though.
I think there's only 4 teams in my poll, even though I have them at 7. Only 4 that I would say are favorites over Atlanta today if we play. I'll tell you at the end because we're going to get there, but I think there's only 4 that I would favor if they played.
Okay.
All right. Well, I had here at 7, I had Hooks. I think, we talked about that, and we're going to know how good Hooks is right away because them and Harmony battle first week, and that's one of our pick'em games. They return 15 starters, and I think that's what I look at. They were really good last year, made a really good run in the playoffs. Obviously caught a hot Harmony team, and got beat. But I think Hooks is going to make another run, and I think this game is very important for both teams. Kind of how to get the season started. I know it's early in the season, but you get off to get a big win over a ranked team because both teams are going to. I think they're both ranked in some of the polls. Not just ours, but I think they're ranked statewide. And so I think it's going to be a big game week 1. And not to saying that's going to be the tail of the tape for the whole season, but that's going to be whoever wins, that's going to get a big boost and confidence getting the season started. So I like Hooks here. We'll see how they look against Harmony, but I still like Harmony in the game, but I think that's going to be one of the better games in week 1.
Let me say this about Hooks real fast. I did not include them just because I don't consider them to be in the area. But you
Thank
mentioned
you.
you look at the Hooks schedule. Let me just say this. Not only does Hooks have Harmony in week 1, listen to this schedule. CM must have heard this. He's like smiling. Week 2 at Cooper. Week 3 at home against Winsboro. So their first 3 are big boy matchups, and then
you're gonna know how good they are real quick. Then,
yeah, and after that it falls way off, right? But the first 3, you go Harmony, Cooper, Winsboro, arguably all 3 top 10 teams in many polls across the state. So that's kudos to them. I think they're a good football team. I just didn't have them because they're not in the area, but you're gonna find out real quick about Hooks.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too, Jeremy. I didn't put them in my poll. 2 reasons. 1, I think they're outside the area, and 2, I'm making a point after last week. But Hooks is a very good football team, though. Keyshawn Walls, their running back, I got to see him when they played Grand Saline last year, and Harmony. And so I got to see him both times. Keyshawn Walls is one heck of a running back. I believe he's committed to UTSA, so that's where he'll be going next year to play football. So, and he's not the only one. They got a very good football team up there in Hooks. They're going to be a tough out, and you said it. Those first 3 games, you're gonna find out. But let's not forget, it's not about how you start; it's about how you finish. Because Harmony started 0-4 last season and made it all the way to the state semis. So. It's not about how you start. Yes, we want to get off to a good start, obviously, but just because you get off to a bad start doesn't mean your season's down the drain.
No, you're right. I think that getting off to a bad start doesn't kill you, but let them go 3-0 to start and see what happens.
Right.
Like now you're looking at a team, they're going to win the next 7.
Oh, if they go 3-0,
they're going to be.
It's over.
It's a wrap.
You might as well tell district it's mine.
They're going to go into the playoff with a pretty high state ranking number next to them if they go start 3-0, because with those wins, that's going to be a pretty big boost. And
I think they go 1-2 in those first 3. I think they go 1-2. I think they beat Cooper and lose to Harmony and Winsboro.
Okay,
that's just my early prediction.
I think
Cooper's
you got the
tough,
Cooper.
man.
Well,
Cooper's tough. Cooper is tough. I saw Cooper, bro.
Cooper is tough. I know he's nervous. I know he's coming. They're not East Texas.
Nervous.
They're not East Texas though.
Yeah, I don't have Cooper either. I don't think they're East Texas, but
so
we don't. But man, they're good.
That's the one they lose.
They are good. They're solid. I don't get me wrong. All 3 of those games will be close games. They won't be blowouts. They'll be. All 3 of them be 1 possession games. I think they'll be tight games.
Okay, so I didn't think it would happen, fellas, but we had another one. We all 4 picked the same thing at number 6. We all have Carlisle there. I know Jeremy touched on a little bit earlier. Carlisle, they're to me, they're a tough spot. Okay, so they're going to probably win their district. They're probably going to go a few rounds, but when they get outside, I think it's Mark that they run into. Usually the final, and it's like that's where they hit a wall. So the question is, can Carlisle ever get over that hump and get out of the region, being in the same region with them? I don't think there's any question they're up to this poll because the consistency and how good they've been over the last several years. But I know for them, they expect to go 10-0. They expect to make the playoffs and expect to get there. They want to get back to get over that hump. And so we'll see if they're able to do that. But that's why they're kind of here. I think they're going to make a deepest run as any of these teams here in their division. But we'll see if they can get over the hump they've been trying to get over. Jeremy, who do you have here at 6?
So I was going to say, is it a sneaky pick? It's a team I haven't heard you guys mention. I don't think you will. I'm kind of high on Mount Vernon, right? Like, I know they're in a tough district, right? I'm sitting here looking at the schedule, and last year they lose to Pottsboro, but then they just dominated Tatum in the playoff game, right? I think it's 40-something to 6 or whatever. They're in a tough district with Winsboro and Pottsboro, who I think are both really good, and I think should be, ranked ahead of those 2. But I look at the schedule. You get Gladewater, you get Quinlan Ford, Hewitt, Sabine, Mineola, Bonham, Reigns, Commerce, like this is a team's going to throw up some wins, I think, as they go throughout the regular season. And yeah, they're just one of those teams that when you think they're going to be down, you look up and they're sitting there at 8-2 or 9-1, and I think 9-1 is probably pretty high with those other two in there. But would you be shocked if they were 8-2 when we get to the playoffs? And they're going to be one of the best 3 seeds around, truthfully. And that region's tough or whatever. But man, I just look at them and I think, I mean, honestly, I don't think they're better than Atlanta, but I think at the end they're going to be in that
Hey,
situation.
so in saying that, you say you have them at maybe a 3. I mean, you have a first round matchup with either Atlanta or Tatum. Isn't that a juicy first rounder? I mean,
Well,
whoever's the second seed.
Tatum doesn't want it again,
No,
right? I mean,
that,
as the kids would say, they don't want that smoke. You know, I'm just saying. Man,
that's a tough one. Like if you're Atlanta and Tatum, you want to be win the district just so you can avoid that 3rd seed. You want to play the 4th seed, you know. And I've seen some that most of them have Mineola. Kyle knows a lot about those guys, but they're losing a lot now.
yeah,
They're not losing as many players, but they're losing like key pieces to that. Obviously Dawson Pendergrass was a lot of the team last year. There was some other guys in there, but I mean he's the one that's the Baylor talent that's now in the Waco, and so that's a big piece. So I don't think they're going to be as strong. I think they'll still be there, but that's not as strong as 4 seed as it was last year.
no.
So
And I just look at what they started out the year last year winning by 20, by 55. They had a close game with Pewitt on the road. They beat Sabine by 40. They beat Mineola by 20, Bonham by 50, and only a 2-touchdown loss to Winsboro on the road. Winsboro's a good football team. So I just think, as we're talking through these two classifications, 3A and 2A, and I mean, like, I think they fit in there somewhere. I'm just not real sure yet. We'll find out early. We'll see if are they going to fall off from what they were. We'll see.
okay, all right, guys, what do y'all got on Carlisle?
I mean, you basically said it. I mean, they're in there for their consistency. I mean, they've been consistently good, and they're bringing 8 starters back on defense. I think defense wins championships. Like you said, though, it's going to be a tough region to get out of. I don't know if they have enough to get out of the region, but who knows what happens in the playoffs? You can get some breaks that go your way and make a run. So
injuries on anybody's team, I mean, you can't predict those either.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they'll have a really good year.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlisle at Troop in week 2. That'll be kind of a litmus test for both of them. And
That'll be a good game.
yeah, and it's really, I mean, honestly, it's one of their only tests early, on the schedule for Carlisle. It's not a very strong.
Well, and you've
all going to be better.
You've got the Alto deal, but they're not eligible to make the playoffs again because of the attendance thing. So that's a sad situation. But then I think that's probably the toughest team in their district, and they're not even eligible to make the playoffs. So kind of makes it a little easier for them.
I think Tenaha will be a lot better this year, right? I mean, I think Tenaha has a chance to win the district. Cushing, I like what Coach Moore does at Cushing. He always gets a lot out of those kids. But you're right. I mean, I think they should be the favorite to win the district, no doubt. Other than with Alto not being included in that. But we'll see. I mean, like I said earlier when I had them number 9, I just think that they're going to be one of the last teams left in the playoffs. I just don't think, in comparison to the Atlantas and the Dangerfields, they're better.
I think to me, we know what their ceiling probably is, and I don't think if they broke the ceiling, that would be huge. Some of these other teams, we expect one, but they could break that ceiling and go farther. I think that's kind of the difference in Carlisle and some of the other teams that we mentioned. Vince or Corey, you got anything you want to add about Carlisle?
Just I think Kyle talked about returning starters. For me, it was the quarterback. I talked about it before with I can't remember now, but it wasn't Russ, but it was. But anyway, I talked about returning the quarterbacks, and I talked about how having that guy as your leader, coming back for another year, it makes things a lot easier. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the quarterback is going to be a senior this year. And from what I was looking up here about them, he's actually progressed every year. So he's getting better every single year. So he's looking good, and that's where. And of course, I like Carlisle. I was high on them last year. I talked about him a lot last year. Um, so I put them. And honestly, I think I put them higher in my poll until I started to really weigh out, who needs to be at the top. I think I had Carlisle like number 2 at one point, and then I was like, wait a minute, I can't do that.
Pretty high there, man.
So yeah, I was high on them last year, and they
mean-
did really well. So
I mean, you can put them 2 in your poll if you really want to, Vince. I mean,
I know, but I would be doing a disservice to who I got at number 2. So
well, you at least you included them in the poll, unlike Corey. Didn't include a couple of teams that, at least you included them.
Well, Corey has no remorse. He gonna do what he gonna do, and we deal with it.
It wasn't my fault.
That's all right.
I was gonna end it with that.
All right,
I got my top 4 though. That's all that matters.
Okay, all right.
I wonder if our top 4s are gonna all be the same.
We got
No.
We're on 5 right
No.
here, and Jeremy's like, no, he's not going to agree with this. He's already figured that out. So, all right. So number 5 for everybody here. We got Corey's got Tatum. I have Dangerfield. Kyle has Winsboro, and Vince has Cooper. Vince, you were talking about how you saw Cooper this year. Give us your thoughts on Cooper and what you saw last year and what you expect from him this year.
Man, Cooper is tough, bro. Like up front, offensive line play.
What do they feed him there in Cooper, Vince?
I don't know, but they big. They bigger than me, and I start to respect anybody who's bigger than me. I learned that lesson a long time ago.
You ever been to Cooper?
I've been to Cooper. It ain't much out there.
Ain't nothing
to do but eat.
Potatoes.
Ain't nothing to do but eat out there.
Oh, corn-fed up there.
They are big. They man, I love the way they play the game, man. And it's not even. I was gonna say like their approach seems a little aggressive, like they just get after it. But it ain't even just that. They're disciplined. And you see them execute, man, on every single play, and it starts up front. And I'm a big guy. I played on the offensive line, played on defensive line, and that's where you win games to me. And so watching them play, I'm like, oh, this is, we watching in the first half, I was like, this is about to be over with. How much longer can you play around with them like that? They're winning up front every play. So I was very high on them. I still like them. I think they're well coached. So yeah, I had them up pretty high. I had to put some respect on their name.
All right, Kyle, tell us about Winsboro and the Finnies.
So y'all are talking about the coach and son combo. Obviously, I've been around Winsboro a few years here recently. Kyler Finney he threw for over 3,600 yards last year and 40 touchdowns through the air, slinging the ball, which is complete opposite of what Winsboro used to be. They used to be ground and pound. They had big boys up front, and they would just wear you down throughout the game. Some of the ugliest games to watch were Winsboro games back in the day with Coach Pinnell when he was out there. And so, but they were successful. They were still good doing that. But then Coach Finney came in, installed that spread offense. Obviously, he's got a quarterback now that can sling it around pretty good, and he's got some good receivers on the outside too. They got some good athletes all over the field. I think they win the district this season. A couple years ago, they had a tough season, just like a 2-point loss here, a 1-point loss here. They've been on that kind of precipice for the past couple of seasons, and I think this year they put it together, and I expect them to make a run. It's going to be tough. We've talked about it. It's a tough region, but I think they're a good enough team where they're going to give anybody a fight that they could. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying they have the potential to be the team coming out of that region representing in the state semis. They have that type of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they're going to have to stop some people. They won a lot of high-scoring games. So they're going to have to figure out some ways to stop some people. But offensively, I think they can score with anybody.
All right, Corey, tell us about Tatum. Okay, you've got Tatum up there. Jeremy here.
Tatum Eagles, baby.
You heard Jeremy talk about Atlanta. They're in the same district. Tell us why you've got Tatum over Atlanta in your poll.
No particular reason why. I just didn't pick Atlanta. But I like Tatum. I've always liked Tatum. either way it goes, they are the big small school or the small big school. You know what I'm saying? They do what they do. It's Tatum Eagles. They've been down for a little while. And this past year they went with 7-5, 7-6. And I've been picking them all last year as the upsets. They got a hard schedule. I believe Tatum is going to be a lot better than this, a lot better this year. I don't know if it's going to be a district fight between them and Atlanta. I hadn't forgot Jefferson either. Jefferson's pretty good. So I didn't pick them in the poll. Jefferson was throwing haymakers last year, so we can't forget them. But I'm rocking with Tatum. Quarterback's going to Louisiana Tech, so we're gonna roll with that. They got a good football team.
All right. Well, I have Dangerfield at 5. Obviously, kind of like we talked about earlier, you put Dangerfield out there against anybody. They can play with anybody. It's more of, can they put together a complete game? I kind of comparison them to what Chapel Hill's had the last couple of years. And we've talked about, when the athletes are out there, when you match them up, you would think, oh, they're going to win every game. But you've got to take care of the ball. You've got to, if things don't go your way, you've got to stay in the game. Things like that. I think that's what's going to separate Dangerfield from who they play. If they come out and they play clean game and they, do what they can, I think they can beat anybody. Obviously, again, it's going to be in their district battle with Harmony, and that you've got them. And I mean, that's going to be probably who's fighting it out for district. And so I think that again is going to be another classic battle. And I think Harmony, what they're going to do well is they've brought back a lot of guys that have been there before. They got a lot of players coming back, and so can they take care of the ball and do what they're supposed to and limit the mistakes? And then Dangerfield, can they do the same thing? It's going to be a battle of that. So, I mean, I just like what they put out there on the field, and they have a high ceiling to me. They're one of those teams I could see them losing the first round, or I could see them making a regional final run, just depending on who shows up and who's playing that particular game. But I like them. Hey, Hampton kids going to the Longhorns, so hook them. So that's what I got Dangerfield. Jeremy, who you got in your fifth spot in your poll?
I don't want Kyle to be mad at me, but I have Harmony number 5. And look, that's a good spot, right? I mean, be top 5 in this poll is pretty impressive either way. There's pretty good teams. I'll say this about Harmony. Every year in the playoffs, there's that one team that just gets hot at the right time and makes a run. And that was Harmony last year, right? Not that they weren't a good football team, but things just started going well for them. And I say that to say they got beat by 4 touchdowns in week 10, right? Or week 11, whatever we call it now. The last regular season game to Dangerfield. And then I don't want to say the playoff road was easy, but they kind of things just fell their way as they went, and they started playing really good football, right? So can they repeat that? Can they do it again? And listen, a lot of respect for Coach Jenkins. Wherever he's been, he's had success, whether it was where at Mount Enterprise and then it was at Tenaha. I mean, so he's had success. He's going to have a good program. And like I said, to be number 5 in this poll to me is a pretty good spot. When you look at the 4 teams up ahead of them, you can't really be upset about that. So I just want to see, can they do it again? Week 1's a great chance for them to play a Hooks team on the road and see what they're going to do here. And not that losing that game discounts them or disqualifies them from being up there at the end. I just want to see, was it lightning in a bottle, or is it a change in that program that they hired Coach Jenkins to bring overall?
All right. I like that. I like he's got the argument. I guess we'll see, like you said, week 1, they're coming out, they're going to be tested against Hooks. So we'll see what Harmony brings starting off the season. All right. So we got number 4. Kyle and myself have Beckville number 4. Vince has Malakoff, and Corey has Joaquin. All right. So, Kyle, you want to go ahead and tell them a little about Beckville, and I'll follow up with what you don't.
I don't think they were on number 4. I'm looking at it. I don't think they were on number 4.
I'm sorry. My mistake. You had Newton number 4. So
yeah,
tell us
there
about
it is.
Newton.
Okay, so Newton, I got to see them last year against Harmony in the playoffs. They've always had a good football team. Well, it feels like always. For the past few years, they've always been a powerhouse. They are an East Texas powerhouse, deep East Texas powerhouse down there in Newton County. So they're always going to be good. I mean, their district is not the toughest of districts to get through. I think they'll kind of roll through that. And their playoff road, honestly, until you get to the regional round, the regional semis, when they are probably going to face a Dangerfield team or, a Dangerfield or an Edgewood or a DCAP, somebody like that in the third round, and then face up maybe against the Harmony again in the regional final. I think they'll make it back to the regional final. That's why I put them at number 4. I think they're going to have a really good year and make a deep run.
Okay. I have Beckville number 4 here. Of course, Jacoby Williams returning at tailback, one of the best backs around. The problem with Beckville is they're in the same region as another team that's really good that we'll talk about here shortly. And they play week 1 against that team, and we'll definitely get into it. But I think that's the main reason. They're in a tough spot, but I think they don't have as much talent as Timpson as I'll talk about. But I think their tailback that they have and the talent they have returning, I think Beckville. I got to see or talk to Coach Ross a little bit, and he has high expectations for the season. I think they want to prove that they can get over the hump and beat Timpson. I mean, that's straight up their goal, honestly, this season. They get to try it week 1. Obviously, the week 1 game is not the playoff game. Of course, both teams want to win that game, but I mean that region, it goes through those 2 teams, in my opinion. It's one of those 2 that's coming out of there, and I like, obviously Cooper's there too. Vince talked about them. But I think this year it's Beckville and Timpson. I like those 2 teams in that region. But I think it's a good spot for Beckville at number 4. This is a very deep poll, and again, it could go different ways. But that's kind of where I think they're at right now, starting the season. We'll see week 1. We'll come back after week 1 and see how they do. But that's where I've got them right now. Vince, you have Malakoff here. Tell us about why you got Malakoff there at 4.
Really, I think I just really picked Malakoff because I'm not gonna say I'm not high on them. They did really good last year, and Dave Campbell was really high on them. Dave Campbell really believed in them, and I was just like, well, they did good last year. They're picked to win the district again this year. So I didn't like the fact that they didn't really have a lot of starters returning. I'm big on returning starters and stuff like that, but I mostly made that pick because of Dave Campbell.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That was what it is. But I will say, hey, their schedule up front, I don't know a lot about their district, how strong their district really is, but I believe their first couple of games are gonna be like some tough ones. They got Grandview.
Their first few games are ridiculous. Gladewater's one of the
West
non-district
Russ.
games.
That's the other one, West Russ. Yeah. I was like, man. They're starting out strong. Yeah.
Their district is a little weak. You got
that's what I didn't want to say that, but
hell, I said it. I said it. I say it again. It's weak. They're gonna blow.
That's why I said, hey, I don't know about the district, but I don't want to make nobody
blow through. I'll let you know about it. They're gonna blow through.
So we're gonna have hate mail from Teague, Fairfield, Mahia, Groesbeck, Kemp, Eustis. Okay, challenge out to you guys. Prove us wrong. Go out and beat Malakoff this year. We'll actually
go
tell
get
you
him.
on air. We were wrong. If you
to be honest, maybe 10 years ago that district would have been really nice. Fairfield and all of that. Hey, to be honest, that district would have been really
Fairfield
nice.
was good. Fairfield was good a while.
Groesbeck's good. Fairfield's good. Teague is on the right. Hey, that district would have been real nice about 10 years ago. Just saying.
Because guess who the coach was there 10 years ago? Not that long. Josh Finney.
Okay.
I got some knowledge there. Uh-oh.
Yeah, dropping dimes.
He's bringing it tonight. He's got his professor game on tonight.
Okay.
Don't bring up that guy.
Okay, the heat's still there. I like it.
There's still some heat there. It is definitely not a work.
So we got Corey, you got Joaquin. Tell us about Joaquin.
Oh, is it the triple option team? First of all, I love the helmets. They got some really good facilities if you ever just want to look at them. They got some nice facilities at the Joaquin. Run the football. They do what they do. Big offensive line. They run the football very well. They're a hard team to beat. They got big beastie bodies up front, and them big boys in the trenches. Joaquin's a good football team. I like them. I'm not gonna disrespect. They look, man. They almost averaged 48 points last year, and then went
So
against Cooper's team and got beat by 11. Only scored 11 points. That was a big
can I
boy battle. You know
can
what I'm
I can
saying?
I talk to you about that for a minute? I,
Uh-oh.
I love them too. And I went to that game and I was high on them. That triple option, the quarterback had crazy athlete. He got feet, man. He got some feet, but I I think where they can improve at is that they lack the ability to throw the football. And in that in that kind of offense, when you show yourself to be one dimensional, it makes it easier for the defense to say, okay, well, we sit in the house. You know, we're gonna stop you up front. And that's what happened when they ran up against Cooper.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you're
If you
getting
They
if
ran
you
into
have
a
the
brick wall.
athletes,
If you have the
if
athlete.
you have the
But
athletes and the player.
again, I love the quarterback. I thought he was amazing, but it got to a point where it was like, like I said, they ran into a brick wall and Cooper just wasn't going to. I was so impressed with Cooper after that game and how they stopped that offense. I just knew that they were finna beat Timpson. I had it in my soul that they were beating Timpson. And Timpson turned out to be exactly what they said they are, monsters.
Wasn't it a football term, technique over talent? I can't remember. Take technique over talent.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't care how talented you are. You blocking right. You gonna get the hole gonna spread open. You got him. You got him beat,
Yeah,
baby.
You know,
absolutely.
But I
here's
like Joaquin.
listen, Joaquin, and here's the thing about that offense. As a defensive coach, I hate it. I absolutely hate it because you
Mhm.
you can't work on it until that week, right? Like you can't prepare
Yeah,
for it 2 weeks in
you
advance.
can't.
So
Yeah,
here's the deal: I'm fortunate to have a defensive coordinator that I work with that, for whatever reason, has figured out a plan to slow that down. I'm not saying we would beat them. I'm saying that they wouldn't be able just to have their way with us because we just kind of figured out the best way to stop that. But I'll say this about the passing game: you don't have to line up and be able to throw it a lot because
no,
when
no.
as a defensive coach, the worst thing we could ever do is say, "Hey, we're going to sell out and put 9, 10 people in the box and make them throw it," because this is teams do this to different teams all the time. It's lull you to sleep, lull you to sleep, lull you to sleep. They just got beat by a better team in Cooper, right? Like Cooper was just better than
Yeah,
they were. So I think that they've done it for so long that they're listen. I have them at number 10, and listen, in the last 10 minutes, I've talked myself out of my entire poll. By the way, we haven't got to my number 4 team yet, but I'm sitting here getting mad thinking about who I put at 4, and I put Joaquin at 10. So anyway, I think that's a good pick for them at number 4, even though I had them at
yeah.
10. I'm being really hypocritical tonight, but
So
but I think it
Jeremy,
just goes to show how deep it is.
so who is
Yeah.
your fourth pick, Jeremy?
Well, it was until about 10 minutes ago, and I'm going to leave it there because I'm not going to change it. But I had Beckville at 4. Okay, and
Yeah.
you guys talking about Beckville, but listen to this. As I've
Okay.
you shouldn't have told me to put a poll together 2 hours ago, Brett. You should have gave me 2 days,
I'm
and this would have
sorry.
been a lot better.
I kind of thought
Hey,
forgot
I had
about
a
telling
month.
you.
Hey, I had a month and I
Right.
still got mine messed up. Hey.
Yeah,
Sometimes the longer you have, the more you can overthink it, though,
that's
Jeremy.
true.
Sometimes.
But before I get
Yeah.
there, I do want to say one thing, Corey, that we realized a few minutes ago that Vince has a great appreciation for us because we are bigger than him, and so I appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
do.
Um,
Listen. I played on the offensive line, and I was
You
the
s-
smallest
the
one there.
Superman.
So
There's that's
now,
why he's a
in all
Superman.
fairness, I was a power lifter, so I was one of the strongest, but I was definitely the smallest, and I didn't want to make nobody mad out there.
well, that's a good thing.
Listen,
You're the smallest guy.
when we used to scrimmage, y'all, I always thought, why is Vince on the offensive?
Hey, I
Man,
just
at
I
least
filled
he
never
was
in where they
understood.
playing.
needed me, man.
I never
I filled
understood. I
in
was
where
like,
they
why is
needed
he on
me.
the offensive line, man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I did what I had to do.
let's talk about this for a second. So you guys said Beckville, and I have Beckville at 4, so I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth now. And Brett said Beckville wants to prove this year that they are going to get over the hump and beat Timpson. They better worry about getting over the hump and beating Joaquin because Joaquin put it on
Mm,
about 3 touchdowns in a playoff game last year. Okay, and here's what
mm.
happened to Joaquin. Listen to this.
Mm.
Leading up to the playoff game, they lost in the second round. Listen to the margin of victory in these games. 56, 56, 55, 55, 55, 28, 70 in the first round. Now, I know you can't control who's in your district, but they get a lot of love because they put up a ton of points and they got some talent. Don't get me wrong, they're talented, but it's pumped up when they go beat people by 55 for 6 weeks in a row. And then
But again, I don't want to cut you off. But again, it's like you were saying, you only get to practice for an offense like that the week of.
Well,
so
perfect.
In all fairness, it's like nobody can prepare for that except you really got 4 days to get it right.
Except you played them in week 2. Except they played them in week 2 last year. And they win the game by 1 point.
Oh, got him.
So they had
okay. All right. I tried to give him some credit.
I'm just going to say this.
It's a definite professor move right there. He had his stats. He pulled it out.
He had it ready.
But they did have it. They did play weeks. I was like, oh, yeah, was good.
Yeah.
Okay, but they lose by Timpson last year. They lose by 31 in week 1. Okay?
Yeah.
They're
not competing with Timpson.
Well,
they need to be worried about Joaquin and some other places.
The game was close. The game was close for a little bit, and then it got blown out of the proportion.
Let me tell you what my friend Bill Parcells says, Brett.
Okay.
You are what the scoreboard says you are.
Ooh.
And you were 31 points worse than Timpson in week 1. And you were 21 points worse than Joaquin in week 12.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they're good. Listen, I think they're top 4. I think they deserve. They're number 4 in the state, according to Dave Campbell. Right? They're a good team, but they got a lot to prove, and they got to prove that you can. Listen, I coach kids. The hardest thing to do is to win 7 weeks in a row by 50 and then play a competitive game. It's tough. They're high school kids. They start watching. They see the scores, like all that stuff. And listen, nothing against Coach Ross. I think Coach Ross does a great job. Great job. But I want to see you in week 1 be in a more competitive game, and then I want to see what you do in Joaquin. Because here's the deal: if Coach Ross he's not new to the block. He knows who he's going to see in the playoffs. He knows who he's going to see. Those guys that have been playing that know that. Listen, at Brookhill, and we're playing a team that's 2-7 running a triple option. We're not going to worry about them until that week. If I know I'm going to see Joaquin in the playoffs, I'm looking at it in July. So and I'm not. Listen, I hate this. I'm not knocking them. I just think. Y'all know what I'm saying, right?
I got you.
You're not.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Teach. You teach. Go ahead. You good.
I just think that let's slow down a little bit, and I put them in my top 4 above some teams I think that are really good.
Well, but here's the thing, Jeremy. We'll see week 1. I mean, if they get blown out by Timpson, then they're going to drop down. But if they play Timpson competitively,
will they though? Okay. Well, I mean, even if they get blown out, though, I don't think they'll drop down that much.
Well, but they'll still to me, if I have them at 4, if I see them and they play Timpson competitively, then I'm probably going to keep them there around the same. If they get blown out, then I'm not saying I'm going to drop them out of the poll, but they're going to come down a few spots because to me, there's such good teams in this poll. I mean, if you're not competitive with somebody in the top, then you need to move down and earn your way back up later. Now they come back and they beat Joaquin in week 2. Okay, well maybe they slide back up, but that's kind of how just what I'm seeing on that. Like I'm not going to punish somebody for playing a good team if it's competitive, but if it's not competitive, then they have to. I mean, it's you go out and lose 50-0. I mean, you
it also depends on how the game goes, though. Like true. I didn't hold it so much against Chapel Hill last year. After the first couple of games, because of all the turnovers, I said to myself, take away those turnovers, Chapel Hill's 2-0 easily. So, I mean, it's you're right, but at the same time, it depends on how the game goes too. Like if it's a blowout because they made a bunch of mental mistakes or just couldn't hold on to the football, that's correctable. I'm not going to punish them too bad for that. But it's been a bad night.
I 100% agree with you. I was just kind of going in general. But if you got some specific, I definitely agree with you on that, Kyle. There's a way to win. If you win by 50 and it's like the other team turned the ball over 7 times, I mean, it's not as big. That's not as big a blowout as if you just dominated and just sacked them every time and stopped them from going anywhere.
Jeremy's about to come off the top rope at me.
No, but
he is.
Okay, listen,
he's coming down and you're laying on some barbed wire tables.
And there's going to be a big explosion. All right, so it's not fair to say that okay, you won by 30, but they turned the ball over 4 times. Because guess what? I sit in a coaches meeting every Saturday, and we try to find ways to make you turn the ball over.
Right.
I talk about that. Turnovers are a part of the game.
Yeah,
I do talk about that.
But are they forced, or is the offense just giving you the ball? That's where I think there's a difference. Not all turnovers are forced.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. And I'm just let's say a quarterback throws a pick to a defensive back that's standing there wide open. Okay, no receiver around him.
Yeah.
Do you consider that giving me the ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
That's
But
throwing you the football. Literally.
What if we know what you do and we're going to be in the right spot and we knock a receiver off a route? Now,
And
does it
he still
happen?
And he
Does it
still got to
happen?
catch
Absolutely.
it too.
Or the
He still got to be in place.
Right.
the
No.
defense.
Okay, but now you added a different caveat to it. You pushed the receiver off the route.
Is that
Okay, well
penalty?
that's something you did. But if my quarterback just is brain dead for a second and sees a different colored jersey and throws it right to you for no reason, yeah, we gave you the football. But yes,
Or
if you do something to push my receiver off the route, or you hurry up the quarterback, quarterback pressure, and he has to get it off before, that's in my mind that's a force. Yes.
Are there some unforced turnovers? Absolutely. But I think that we don't give enough credit sometimes to the game plan aspect of.
Absolutely. I will agree with that.
What I don't like to get into when it comes to football is the what if game. You know, me and some buddies, they always tell me all the time, like, man, well, if we didn't do this or if they didn't do that, we would have won. It don't matter. It happened.
You
did it.
And it's over.
You did it.
It did happen.
But you
and
did.
It's over. And that's all that matters.
That's good or bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
I hate saying, well, they got lucky and won. No, they didn't.
Nah, they did what they supposed
The
to
clock went the same amount of time as it did for you.
do.
Like, what are you talking about?
I feel your neck.
It is
Hey,
difficult.
He out here preaching
It is
today.
difficult. It is difficult too when you bobble a snap and you're on your own 20 and you bobble a snap and now you're on your own. Then now they recover the ball on your 15.
Well,
It's like, okay, now we're playing the
at the
field
end of the
position
day,
game.
hey,
And
you
that's
nervous.
rough. That's
If my
really rough.
presence, Corey, if my presence make you nervous and you fumble, hey,
know,
well, I'm doing something
You
right.
ain't got, ain't nothing wrong. You just dropping the ball at this point. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
But I don't do the what if thing. I don't do the what if.
But I got a nose tackle, brother, that's going to be 6'3" and 320 pounds. We're going to line up in 2 weeks. And if he hits you a couple of times, guess what?
Yeah, you're
thinking about it. Okay, that's number one. Number two,
go second guess it. Yeah.
Number two is this. I love baseball. Some of you guys may hate baseball, whatever. What I love about baseball is the season is so long that if you make a mistake or two, it doesn't kill your season.
Yep.
It don't.
In football, we tell our kids this all the time. You are guaranteed 10 opportunities to go out there and perform and execute.
Yep.
At your best.
I told my kids Saturday, because we had some mental bozo moments Friday night in our scrimmage. And I told our kids, you guys, what you do is too hard. Football practice is too hard. Playing football is too hard to waste them, to do stupid things, right?
Yeah.
And look, it's mistakes. I don't expect my kids to be perfect, but I hate saying, well, I'm going to give them a pass because they turned it over 4 times. Well, what were you doing in August? What were you doing early? Why are you fumbling the ball 4 times? You know, like if I coach a running back and he fumbles, that's why those guys do push-ups. That's why they do X, Y, Z. That's why if my guy jumps off sides on a 3rd and 2, I got his big butt doing up downs. You know, so listen, sorry. I'm supposed to be resting tonight, man.
Y'all done gassed him up.
The coach is coming out.
That's what happened.
Hey, he finna go into practice tomorrow on 10.
They better look out tomorrow. They're lucky we're going shorts and t-shirts tomorrow, because if we were in pads tomorrow, it'd be full Oklahoma drill to start it off.
Yeah, like what's wrong with Coach Hub? Why is he so angry?
Listen, at Brook Hill, we do not approve of the Oklahoma drill. I just have to say that for legal purposes. We do not do that.
Yeah.
So
Oklahoma drill.
Allegedly.
So fired up. Tell us your third spot, Jeremy.
Well, here we go again.
Jeez
I got Winsboro
Louise.
number 3. I got Winsboro
okay.
number 3.
All right, yeah.
So Kyler Finney is going to be statistically one of the best quarterbacks in East Texas at the end of this season. Okay. But Josh Finney, you know, we're talking about, they like to throw it around a lot. Go back about 11, 12 years when he's got his first head coaching job at Mod. I'm really dating myself here now.
Good.
There was a time when Mod, all of a sudden, my uncle was actually the head coach at Beckville. Okay. And they were good. They had TJ Adams, one of those guys, and Nico Adams, all those guys, right? They go to Gladewater to play Mod in the first round of the playoffs. And all of a sudden, Mod is just giving them the business. And Josh Finney, who's this young head coach who hadn't been there before, is taking Mod, who, by the way, you don't know where Mott is, it's because they were really only good when he was there. Okay.
Texarkana.
And he brings them out there, and they're this competitive team. And then he parlays that job into the Teague job, and he goes to Teague, and they win. And now he goes to Winsboro, and KO said it the best, like, listen, that's boring football, what it was before.
Yes.
But Josh Finney has done something at 3 different schools now where he just changes the culture and the mindset. And the culture piece cannot be understated in any school you ever go to. I have a lot of respect for Coach Finney and because of what he's done. And I think you're right. When you have a quarterback who's your own kid and is in there studying film, his dad's been running the same offense since Kyler was born, probably. Okay. And so I promise you, he knows it like the back of his hand.
He's probably calling the plays almost. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think that's a special combination already, but you look at what Coach Finney's done, you got a lot of respect for them. And I mean, even when Coach Finney was at Mount Vernon, right? We played those guys when he was at Mount Vernon, and they came and gave us the business one night because he just makes them believe that's what they can do no matter where he's at.
And they still do that Winsboro tough nose football. Like they're still going to give you a battle every single night. They're not going to lay down for anybody.
Yeah.
And you're right about Kyler too. He's basically a coach on the field. He's an extension of the head coach on the field offensively. So they're going to be really good.
And I think
mad respect for any coach. Mad respect for any coach. Mad respect for any coach that can change a culture. That is massive.
Tough.
It is massive. That's a mindset, man.
On that note, I just want to give a shout out to Coach Shane Weber over in Quitman. Quitman they won 1 game in 4 years. Talk about, Jeremy, you were talking about having an 0-10 season and coming back. How about an 0-30 season or 0-30 stretch, 0-39, and it were 1-40 basically, 1 game in 4 years. And Coach Weber came in there, a Quitman native. He graduated from Quitman, hometown roots. He's come in there and they won 4 games last year. So like I don't think they'll make the playoffs this year. Very tough district, but just to see them being competitive in games and that culture, to your point, Corey, that culture, you have to get that losing culture out of there. Like you have to just get rid of that. Stop. You got to change the mindset of we come off the bus, we're already beat because we're Quitman. Like you got to get out of that mindset. And Coach Weber's come in there and changed that culture over in Quitman. And so I just want to give him a shout out too.
Well, and Brett and Corey know this. We've talked about this, and this is a football show. I don't want to stay on this long, but I'm in the middle of that with a basketball team right now, right? 3 years ago, we won 4 games my first year as a head coach. And Corey and Brett got to sit there last year and watch how that's it's the hardest thing you can do as a coach. Like figuring out X's and O's is easy. Motivating good players is easy. Removing a losing mindset is the hardest thing you can do. And you see, Quitman's a great, and so what's funny is they go from no wins in 3 years to 4 wins, and people don't see that as being a huge jump. That's huge
enormous.
Jump.
Yeah.
And that's for any program. And look at Coach Jenkins and Harmony, right? While we're talking about them, like Harmony's never been what I would say terrible, but to where they ended up last year from where they've been, that's tough to do. So
they had never won 2 playoff games in a year till last year.
There you go. And
there
now
you go.
they're the last ones playing, right?
I'm not gonna name drop. You look at Chapel Hill's history. That's all I'm gonna say. Since 2000, and probably about 2005, we've had the most winning seasons we've had in years.
Yeah, it's culture.
Like you look at it, and it's just it goes up and down, but like the cultures, they're like you state champ, like you won 1989, you won 2011, and it's since then it's going up and down, but consistently. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to bring them up, but I know what it's like to go through high school. Your football team wins 4 games in 4 years. Like that's bad.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Corey. Honestly, and we have inside connections with that. But I mean, Chapel Hill is a prime example. I mean, Coach Reardon's been this is near 5. He came first year. He had a schedule that had Argyle, Pleasant Grove, Carthage, Kilgore. I mean, he went 2-8, but I mean, it was the worst schedule I've ever seen. I mean, I wouldn't put any kids through that, especially with ones that haven't been used to winning. And then he, went 3 rounds deep, 5 rounds deep, 5 rounds deep, and he's ranked in the top 5 this year. So, I mean, that to me, when he came in and told me, I'm going to turn this program, I got to talk to him. I mean, I was kind of like, okay, We'll see, because when you have that coaches coming in and out like that, and to see someone just come into a program like that and immediately you can see things turn. And from the middle of his second year, when they started winning, it's just been a different program. And so I give credit to coaches like that can come in, especially in places like you said that haven't had a tradition, and just take that to the next level. So we'll move on to our third spot. Jeremy, he told us his. We kind of split. Corey and Kyle have Beckville, and me and Vince have Harmony. Give us our thoughts on Beckville, Kyle and Corey.
I picked Beckville. I think they're the second best team in 2A in East Texas, which kind of spoils who I had above them. But they did lose to Joaquin in the second round last year. But Jacoby Williams is a dog. He's going to be back, and he's going to be ready to go. The quarterback's back as well, Kalen Castles. They got 9 on offense, 9 on defense returning. And Jeremy, you were talking about Joaquin earlier. My only thing to them, they don't have a lot returning. They got 2 on offense and 3 on defense returning. So, I mean, they're having to replace pretty much the whole team. Now, granted, with that system, I'm sure they run that same system all through. So that won't matter. But maybe different athletes, maybe not as strong as last year. So I see Beckville. I don't know how they're going to do against Timpson. I think it'll be a close game in week 1. But I expect to see a Beckville-Timpson rematch in the playoffs.
Corey, anything to add there?
No.
Okay.
Nail on the head.
All right. So, Vince, you and I got Harmony. I like Harmony for the experience they got. I think, honestly, looking at the roster, this was probably the year they were expecting to do something. I think they kind of were a year early. They had a good playoff run. We talked about, the path and how they got hot at the right time. I mean, that's all it takes sometimes. But they've got a lot of experience coming back. Of course, Corey and I talk about the best name in high school sports. You got Boston Seahorn leading the charge there at Harmony. And he's got a brother on the team as well. So, the Seahorn connection. I think those guys, I see them making another run. Of course, you got Dangerfield. We talked about that. I had them at 5. And so I think those two are going to battle out for district. Again, it'll be interesting to see which Dangerfield team shows up. But I think Harmony's got a very good chance to repeat a run and possibly do something special this year if they catch the schedule right and they don't have any serious injuries to kind of keep them down. Vince, what do you think about Harmony's chances?
Honestly, you kind of sold it, but I will tell you that I was really putting Harmony. I had them in my top 5, but I gave them a little bit more respect because of KO. I gave them a little bit, I gave him a little bit of hell last year by Harmony when he showed up, and I was like, who is Harmony? I wasn't really respecting him, and I remember in the playoffs, he was hyping them up, on our show, like Harmony's gonna do this, Harmony gonna do that, and I really was just like, okay, we'll see, but I didn't expect for him to do much, and then I think I remember, it may have been Corey who texted me and told me that they won one of their playoff games or whatever. I think I was at a Lindale game at that time or something. I can't remember where I was. And I was just like, really? I was like, really? Harmony? And so I just thought in all fairness, in all fairness, I needed to give them a little bit of respect, So I said, you know what? I'm gonna bump them up a little bit. I can't put them over my 1 and 2, but I'm gonna give them that. I'm gonna give them 3.
All right. Jeremy, who you got at 2?
I'm going to go with Malakoff at 2. And we've talked a lot about consistency and what they've done. Just looking back, last year going 13-2, giving up 11 points a game, right? Like we talk about, you got to be able to defend to win at the end. 11 points a game is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Not bad. It's not bad.
And, it's kind of one of those things to where now Coach Driscoll's been there long enough that the system is what it is. The kids have bought in. I'm sure in a system like that, they're doing the same thing from 7th grade on up, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. could you interchange with some other guys? Yeah, you could. But I think you're right. The district, they're going to blow through that. No doubt about it. They lost to Grandview early last year, came back and beat them in the playoffs. They destroyed Winsboro. That's Winsboro's team. We're talking about how good they are and what they've done. They put it to them last year. And it's really one of those things like until they don't do it, I'm just going to keep expecting them to do it. And I think that's fair. I think they've earned that at this point. Every year, or not every year, but every time they lose a group, we're always like, okay, they're going to fall off. Okay, they're going to fall off. And they just haven't yet. And I think they've just earned the right to be sitting there at that point as number 2.
Yeah. Corey and I also have Malakoff too, Jeremy. And to add to that point, it's the athletes they have, the skill guys. They just reload new guys in. So even though they're losing, I think they're losing 8 on offense. I mean, you're going to have a lot of that. They're just going to reload their those skill positions. So I'm not concerned about that. They do have quite a bit returning on defense, but again, you said it. They're Malakoff, and I think that's enough said there. I mean, I think until someone knocks them off, and it took them all the way going to Brock last year to take the loss. I think they're gonna make their deep run this year. Honestly, I think the Grandview test early will be interesting. They have some interesting preseason games. District's not going to be a problem for them, but yeah, I like them. Corey, tell us about. Wait, I'm gonna let you say it. Tell us about your team.
Malakoff Tigers. They don't rebuild; they reload. That's exactly what they do. Nothing more to say. They're almost as how many. I don't know how many district titles they've got, but it just had me thinking about the most iconic Texas football team ever in West Canaan, and the most historical football coach ever is Bud Kilman. Like they just do what they do. They just reload every year. He had like 16 straight district titles. I mean, whatever. All I know is Lance Harvard would have been one of the best quarterbacks in the state. That's what I feel about Malakoff. If you listen to this, I know y'all are laughing. This is hilarious. You got to. This is the funny part. Come on.
I feel like Corey didn't watch the. I feel like Corey stopped watching after the whipped cream bikini. Didn't see the end of the movie. Is what I feel like.
If he never got injured, you would have been the greatest high school Texas quarterback ever in the state. Oh man. But Malakoff, they don't rebuild, they reload. They've been good for a while, so they've got it going on with Malakoff.
All right, Vince, you got Beckville here. Tell us about number 2 at Beckville.
Man, I'm gonna be real with you. Coach about changed my mind on Beckville.
Gosh,
I've been sitting there going back and forth over Beckville since he's kind of brought up the whole Timpson and Joaquin thing. I don't know, man. Like I like him though. I do like him, Coach.
I do too. I think they're a good team. I think they are a very good football team.
They good, but they just now I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, yeah, they.
But here's the hard part, Vince.
I would change.
We're nitpicking at this point, right? We're trying to place a bunch of really good teams in order.
And that's you're right. You're right about that.
None of them have played anybody yet, so that's
right.
None of them have played anybody. Very true.
You're having to guess on what we've seen past. Yeah. And what we think
so
they have.
I will say that I do still I like them. I think they're balanced offensively, or at least they were last year. They did play Timpson, and Timpson kind of worked them a little bit, but after that game, man, they seem to just kind of come alive after that, And some teams, week 1 like that and get beat like that, some teams mentally check out sometimes, man. And so I saw how they just kind of acted like it was nothing. That to me, that was a sign of good coaching. Being able to forget week 1 and move forward. So I like them. I think they're great. They definitely can pass the ball. They got some athletes at receiver, and I like their style of play.
All right, Kyle, tell us why this next team you have number 2. I'm going to let you tell it. Why they're not the number 1 team, they're number 2.
I got the Timpson Bears at number 2. I think they are the best team in 2A. I think they're going to win the 2A state championship in 2A Division 1, but they are number 2. in my ranking. Terry Bussey, star athlete. By the way, he is announcing his commitment on September 28th to find out where he'll go. He's got 5 schools to choose from. Everybody's picking Texas, I see.
No, he's only got one school. The rest of them are the other guys.
But can't forget about Vosky Howard over there too at Timpson, and they got a lot returning on offense and defense. Again, they're gonna run into like a Refurio again. But I think this is their year with Terry Bussey and Vosky there, both ready to move on after this season. So I think this is the year Timpson does it. But they're number 2. If it was a 2A only poll, they'd be number 1. So
he's going to use that theory where if they line up against his number 1 team, that he thinks his number 1 team is going to beat them.
I give it. Everybody's okay to have a home school. I got you. No way going with. All right, I got you.
I haven't said a word about them yet. I've been holding all my ammo till now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn y'all over to the Harmony bandwagon. I'm gonna turn y'all over to it.
Harmony.
All right, so we ready to go number 1?
Sure.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Oh, Jeremy's got something to say.
I want KO to go first, actually.
Let him go.
Okay, I like it. Let's Kyle, tell us who your number 1 team is.
All right. First off, fly Eagles fly, huh? Can I get amen? Amen. All right. The Harmony Eagles.
Here we go.
The Harmony Eagles are my number 1 team for 3A and below. They went to the state semifinals last year, as it's been well pointed out. They're returning 10 on offense, 9 on defense. You talked about Boston Seahorn. His brother's name you were looking for, Weston Seahorn.
There you go.
There's also there's about 3 or 4 other Seahorns in the school that play other sports too. So and then you got the Trimbles and that are related to the Seahorns. That there's some of the big group over there in the Roansboro area where Harmony is located. Anyway, I think they're going to make another run. They snuck up on everybody last year. They really did. Starting off 0-4, nobody expected anything from them. Close loss to Hooks to begin the season, 17-14. Lost to White Oak, which was kind of surprising, 39-32. Then lost to Beckville, 51-29. And then DeKalb, 47-33. Then district started. Then they rattled off a win over Hughes Springs, New Diana, Legion Fields, Queen City, beat Wascom by 2, and then lost to Dangerfield, obviously, on that final home game, and then just rolled through the playoffs with New Waverly, Hooks, West Rusk, Newton, until eventually falling to Poth in the state semifinals. They got everybody coming back, guys. Like and we forget last year was Coach Jenkins' first year at Harmony. So it's his first year that those kids get to be ingrained in Coach Jenkins' system. Now you have a whole off season and a whole nother year with Coach Jenkins and that coaching staff. I think it's set up. And talking to the superintendent and everybody over there through the playoff run, those games those first 4 games they lost, it was more of what they were doing to themselves, the mistakes they were making. They have an outstanding run game. Their offensive line is huge. They got a huge offensive line, outstanding run game with Boston Seahorn, Weston Seahorn in the backfield as well. They'll put Big Braxton Baker in the backfield too. He's the tight end, 260-something pounds, solid. They'll put him back there as well. They got the complete team. Tyson Jenkins added to the outside as a receiver, Coach Jenkins' son. He really stretched the field and made some plays downfield, big plays in the playoffs. I'm really high on Harmony. Yes, I'm a little biased because I've watched these kids grow up. I've watched these kids grow up through high school. Like I've been covering them for the past 4 years. So Boston Seahorn as a freshman all the way to now being a senior, like I've seen these kids grow. And I just think this is the year that Harmony makes it back to the state semifinals. I think they make the state championship. Early prediction: Gunner versus Harmony state title game for 3A Division II.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, you heard it first. KO calls it first. You're on NSN there. Man, he's gonna mic drop us on that one. Jeremy, can you follow that up?
Pretty convincing, KO. You really had me rethinking having Harmony below Beckville at least.
There you go. That's all I can ask for.
Gosh, I'm going to be really hated over there. Next time I'm on, can we get like a voice changer and a witness protection program.
Yeah, one of them silhouettes.
I feel like I was really harsh on Beckville. But, listen, if what KO's saying I could buy into if we see early on that it wasn't lightning in a bottle last year. I alluded to that a minute ago. Like, is it really the change? Is it really what it is? Or was it we were the team that got hot?
Well,
right?
that's going to be a tough part this year. They're not sneaking up on anybody this year.
Right.
They snuck up on everybody last year. Nobody expected anything from them, but now they got a target on their back. So how can they handle now being the hunted instead of the hunter? That's going to be the biggest key.
For sure. And the reason why I have Timpson at 1, right? I think here's the thing. Yeah, Bussy's one thing. But now you got the other guy to go along with him. You got 2 of those cats at that division. Good luck, right? Yeah. Like, there are going to be some teams later on that can do it. I don't know if they're going to win it. Like, I'm with you. Like, I think they have a great shot of getting there and this being the time they've done it. But, Coach Thurwinger is like, we talked a lot about Lovelady. Guess what? The history of Lovelady football includes that guy as being one of those kind of built it in the last 10 or 15 years. And now he's over at Timpson doing the same thing. I worry about, some of the non-district schedule for Timpson, right? Like, are they going to fall into that not being tested enough as you go through until you get there? But last year, you look at their schedule. I had it pulled up a minute ago. They weren't like, and you guys know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. They weren't just beating people. They were making people feel bad, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it was not even close. They beat Beckville. We already talked about that. They beat Dangerfield by 26. They beat Joaquin by 3 the first time. And then Garrison, another good football team we haven't talked about tonight. They beat Garrison by a touchdown. Mm-hmm. They beat Corey's favorite team, Centerville, by 30. They go beat Cooper by 3 touchdowns. So, they're good enough to win it. They got the talent at that level. You got 2 cats like that. They're good enough. And I just think, kind of by default, you have the best player in a small school. It's kind of hard to pick against them right now. Even though what KO's saying about Harmony is true, they got maybe more guys bought into the system, and it's a system. I don't want to say that. Not that they're a system team, but they got the guys all over the place. Where Timpson's going to rely on 2 cats to get them there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the rest of us have Timpson. It's kind of obvious there at this point why we all picked Timpson. I mean, it's you got somebody like Terry Buskey, you add Vosky Howard. I mean, it's just you just go look at the film, and he's just so much better than everybody on the field. It's just
he's different.
It's like a video game where I create my player and I make him 99, and like he's faster than everybody. He breaks tackles. I mean, you can put him on both sides of the ball. I honestly just think what got Corey? You got to sign up, Bussy and them. Is that
Bussy them? That's
I mean, when you think about it,
that's the team.
He plays multiple sports, football, basketball. I think he runs track also.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think he played baseball too. I'm not sure, but I thought I saw a report where it said he played baseball. But dude is just ridiculous. He had 2,000 something yards passing, but then he rushed for another 2,500 yards. And I think somebody said he had like over 70 touchdowns total. And I mean, you watch him play, and it's like Brett said, it's like a created player. It's like it's not real. Like, he's having fun out there. He's doing stuff that you see other people trying to make plays. You see him playing around and executing, and it's just different. It's a different level. And I don't know how he got there. but you don't get people like that often.
But you guys know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Don't look at the stats so much, right? Because they're playing some teams that are really bad. Okay, so like the touchdown numbers don't impress me as much. This is what we tell kids all the time. This is the negative part of me, right? A lot of kids think they can play Division I football. Oh, I can go play at Oklahoma. Oh, I can go play at Texas. No, you can't. That guy can. When you see a true Division I player, that's what he looks like.
Don't say that now. I'm going to drink this.
Coach, you got to give him hope. you got to get that 5'7" player hope. You got to let him know, man.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
I'm telling you, it like that's when when Kalen
Mhm.
Griffin came to Brookhill,
Yeah.
right? At our level, yeah, he was looking like a superstar because he came to Brookhill. He wasn't a Division I player because he came to Brookhill and put up a bunch of numbers. He was a Division I player because he was that guy.
Yeah.
He was going to be that guy no matter where he was. He'd have been that guy if he'd stayed at Chapel Hill. And then he came back there and he was, I mean, okay, Corey, Division I player is Division I player, right? Now, but Kalen, who's a great kid, I love Kalen, but he was a Rice kid. He wasn't a Texas Oklahoma kid. Terry Bussey's a Texas Oklahoma A&M Alabama
Yeah.
type of kid, and those kids are different.
You see it. Yeah, they different.
Man,
They just
like I
said,
got chills.
I
got
don't know
chills on
how
the
you
spot.
again, I don't know how
Hey.
you get to this level. I don't know what it is because it's bigger than just showing up to practice every
I'm gonna
day.
tell you what happened.
This is something else.
God says, "Here you go.
I'm gonna give you one.
I'm gonna give you this.
Mic drop. We
Don't
done.
screw it
We
up."
done talking. We
Yeah.
done talking.
Don't mess this up.
Done. We done talking. We done talking. Because you know what? I want to add to that. You know, Booby. What's not Booby Mom? What's on Friday Night Lights?
Booby
Was his
Miles.
God given?
Yeah, Booby
It's
Miles. Yeah,
God-given.
that's him.
Like,
I
listen,
was
hey,
thinking about that.
some people they can just do it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It don't matter.
Like they just got it. You know what I'm saying?
But
And
the
then some
special
people
ones
have to
take
work
it.
extra hard for it.
But here's the thing: you can't work your way into being him.
No.
Nope.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
To be
That's what I'm
him,
trying to tell you.
to
It
be
don't
him,
matter what you
you
do.
have to
You're
have-
not gonna work your way to that.
You have to have that combination of God says, "Here you go. I'm going to make you a stud," and then you have to go take advantage of it. And I bet that cat works harder than everybody else in the weight room. I bet he does more because you don't get to listen. A&M and Oklahoma Tech, whoever it is, Nick Saban doesn't come to your house and talk to you if you don't work hard. He doesn't show up if you ain't any good. But I'm gonna tell you, I could go in there in the weight room every day and work, and the Dallas Cowboys never gonna call me KO. They're never gonna call me. So
No.
it's not just work and it's not just talent. There's a bunch of talented guys. If you hadn't watched Untold yet with Johnny Manziel, there's a bunch of talented guys that won't finish and take advantage of it. These guys
Love
take
them,
advantage
by
of
the
it.
way.
Listen, that was a really good documentary too. But to your point though,
Yes.
there's he's on another level. He is a special player. And Casey Poe from Lindale, the offensive lineman that just committed to Alabama, he did a little Twitter recruiting. He tweeted at Terry Bussey. He was like, "Hey man, we keep running into each other. Just come on down to Bama, roll Tide." So I know y'all don't want to hear that, but Casey Poe's out here trying to recruit Terry Bussey to Bama to join him up there. And I have a feeling Terry Bussey would be A-OK running behind Casey Poe for the next 4 years over at Alabama.
Texas
look
got
at
some
the
pretty good
backfield.
guys down there right now on the O line.
I'm
just
just
don't think-
saying. I'm just saying. But yes,
I'm-
Terry
I'm a-
Bussey's special player, and it's not coachable, right? Like it's
Nah, that's
God given,
what I'm saying.
but he is coachable. Like that's the thing. He's very humble for as good as he is. He's very humble and doesn't. I think in his mind, obviously, he knows he's good, but he's also realizes I can't do this by myself. I gotta have teammates to help me.
It starts with winning the gene pool first.
Yeah.
it starts
I'm gonna say
in the
this.
womb. It starts in the womb. So to
gonna
be
say
honest with
this.
you, as good as we want to brag about him, we need to be talking about his parents. Y'all
Hey,
did a good job.
Mama Pops. Good job.
Yeah.
Y'all did a good job.
Hey,
And
I'm gonna mention this, and I'm off the mic. I never forget. It was the TJC coach Marcus. We were playing somebody, right? And he told me, he said, "You know what, Corey? At some point in time, no matter what you do, that best player is just gonna score. Like there's nothing you can do, right? I learned that going to Sam Houston, learned that we played this guy Lamar. Coach Marlin's like, this guy's like a low draft pick. It's like low draft. I ain't never seen a draft pick in my life at this time. I'm green. I'm out Chapel Hill. I'm green. I'm like, so this guy's going to the NBA. One of the guys on the team is like, all right, no problem. I got him, coach. Kid dropped 33 and like 17. We got on the bus back home. He's like, hey, he better go in the first one. He was like 6'8", 6'9". He hitting turnaround jumpers. I'm like, I'm used to like running offense. We run the flex offense. No, they doing pro style floppy. Like they giving him the ball mid post. He's just going to work. I'm like, this dude right here, where did he come from? And he was just smooth. But I'm like, there's nothing you could. We end up winning the game, but there's nothing. He's gonna get 33. He's gonna get his points. But I'm like that's Terry Bussey. He's gonna get his. The man doesn't have to be the man. You know,
So-
he doesn't have to prove he's a man.
And it's one thing to talk about some guy like the Dangerfield kid that's going to play defense at the next level. You're talking about a guy who can go play offense for any school he wants to.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing the difference in how special a kid like that really is. And that's why I think at their level, good luck. And then you got Howard on top of it. Like, listen, you're right, Corey. You can game plan. You can game plan all you want to for anybody you want to. And at the end of the day, what do they say? It's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
You gotta have them dudes.
You still got to line up.
So
got to line up.
Speaking of dudes, Jeremy, we got a little bit of an announcement to make here as we kind of wrap this up tonight. New podcast we're going to do with Brook Hill. Give us a little bit of information about it for those that would be interested in tuning into that every week.
Yeah, so Brett and I have kind of been working on this, man, probably for months, but it just took one phone call last night to hammer out the details. You'll be able to hear from our in-season coaches and a kid or two every week. Every Monday, I think, is what we've decided on. The Fire the Cannon podcast in Brook Hill. If you don't know about our history, we have a big cannon we bring out and fire for different things. And so we're going to go with that name, and we're excited to get that rolling next week. Brett and I will be tag teaming this thing together. We'll be bringing interviews with Coach Riley every week in football season, and then Not Married to Me, Coach Hubbard, the volleyball coach, every week.
And I'm probably going to try to – I'm just now thinking about this. I may try to see if we can coordinate and get Vince in too, because he's going to have some good information for us and being at all those games, the home games and stuff. So, Vince, if you're free, I'd like to get you in on that too, since you'll have some good insight being there, as far as the football games go. So, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great for the Brook Hill community. Get to get some inside information. Kind of the same thing we're doing. Me, Corey, and Vince are doing the Old Dog Show. You're going to have Coach Reardon on and some player interviews and same type deal. So I'm excited about doing these shows to highlight these programs around the area. It's great for them and great for the community. So if you're interested in sponsoring any of them, anybody out there, let us know. We'd love to have sponsors for some of our shows. So something else I want to touch on. Our Pick'em Challenge, the app, guys, is working. The Pick'em Challenge, we were up to 67 participants in the Pick'em Challenge for week one. So I have decided we talked about doing weekly giveaways, and we will be doing the weekly giveaways for the winners of each week. But there will be a grand prize given out for the winner at the end of the season. So I've decided to do that, and so we'll see. Once I have the grand prize and what it's going to be, I will bring it on a show, and we'll announce all that. But that is coming. We got our what Corey? What is that? You keep throwing up. I feel like you're. Oh,
it's an arrow.
What is that?
Are you saying who's winning? Are you pointing at Kyle?
No, I was just trying to see if it worked.
Oh, okay. Your arrow.
Like a little arrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. We've got our other shows coming up. We got our, coming up this week. We'll have our week one pick'em where we'll talk about that on our Beast from the East show, which is coming up, re-released this coming week. We'll talk about our week one pick'ems. We'll have a round table with any of the NetSN guys that are available. So stay tuned for that as well. Guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Kyle, Jeremy, and Corey and Vince enjoyed tonight's polls. We had a lot of difference of opinions, but a lot of good valid points tonight, guys. It was some good conversation. So for everybody listening tonight, we appreciate you for tuning in. For these guys, I'm Brett. We'll catch you next time right here on the weekly wrap-up show. Football season's coming, fellas.
Next week, we got real live high school football.
Woo,
that's what it is, baby.
Huh?
Friday night, baby. Friday night, baby. Eat them up, cats.
Is your demanding work lifestyle in need of fire-resistant clothing that can keep up? Well, L4FR clothing should be your go-to for quality, affordability, safety, and style. L4FR was founded by a third-generation oil field worker who is also a veteran. Thus, this company has a deep appreciation for reliability and longevity, all while we provide first-rate customer service. Our durable apparel will serve you well for many years to come, whether you're working on a pipeline, a lineman climbing utility poles, or in any other environment requiring fire-resistant apparel. L4FR has you covered. Our apparel is tough enough to resist hazardous conditions while still providing high comfort and style. L4FR provides clothing options to ensure your safety and comfort, whether you're on the job or not. To view our complete inventory of flame-resistant garments, please visit our online store at l4frclothing.com or give us a call at 817-757-4935. Si habla español.
Struggling with mobility, chronic pain, work, or sports injury? At Azalea Orthopedics, our team of highly trained physicians specialize in complete orthopedic care, pain management, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation. If you've sustained a bone or joint injury, have mobility or movement problems, struggle with pain, contact Azalea Orthopedics. We're conveniently located across East Texas, serving 18 counties. When visiting your doctor, urgent care, or hospital, you have a choice. Demand Azalea. At Azalea Orthopedics, your health is our priority.